We also have to ask some questions about things like that, though, that are beyond the actual response and what goes into that. Which absolutely, that's a critical part. But why these things happen, and people in the past, it's been quieter. I'll give credit where it's due. It's been quieter on this front of the blame. In the past, it's just been, well, it's guns.
As like we were just getting started, somebody comes in and they're like, "Yo, everybody out." So like the entire team leaves. And do you remember when, gosh, I don't know if it was like a month ago, the shooter at
Oh yeah, at Blackstone.
yes, they all dipped and responded to that.
No shit, that was going on right then.
Yes. So, and that's part of the deal, man. That's what they do. Those guys, what I'll say is like from what I got from them, they cover the whole city, bro. Every borough. And they're
nuts.
spread very thin. And so that was that. So they dipped on the first day and then we ended up coming back the second day to do it.
That's real world. You get to see that happen. Think about how good those guys got to be. Like we talk about like police forces or whatever. There's dudes like there's certain police forces. You're New York City. Like, yeah, we see the guys directing traffic out there. There's another segment of them that better be good at what they do because look at all that can go wrong in that little place right there. Nothing little about it. It's crazy.
And what I'll say about these guys, man, like I always had a respect for what the people that come on my show do, as I'm sure you do as well.
Oh, yeah.
But being able to see it firsthand, not firsthand, but like, bro, I'm telling you, they make it feel real. They want training to feel real. They're not fucking around. Like it's for all intents and purposes real. And so what those guys do is they don't know what's on the other side of that door. And they gotta, dude, like the fucking Uvalde one, like that. Oh God, man, that I cry every time I see a body cam video of something like that. It absolutely breaks my heart. But those guys, and you know what pisses me off too, like when being a police officer is a fucking thankless job, and people shit on them, and they want to take their money away, and they don't want them to train, and they want them to pay for their own ammo. Those guys fucking run into that room when they don't know what's on the other side of the wall to save people's lives that they don't know.
Yeah.
And like, dude, I'm telling you, when I'm like, when I was in there, like it just felt real. And I also felt what it was like for them. I'm like, I set this position up. Like I have the advantage. They're in this situation, not at like I shot a couple of them. In the leg or something when but like that's real, bro. That's it for all intents and purposes. That's a real fucking 9mm round in their leg in the real world.
Dude, even below what you did there. That's like a full blown simulation, but even, I know you go to gun ranges a lot. Like even when you go to a range and you're handed a weapon of death, which is what it is, and you have to move with it a little bit to shoot a fucking cardboard.
Yeah.
Or a metal plate or something. And you think of all the steps, every little, especially if you're working with, like an AR-15 or something like that. Every little thing you have to do just to do one shot and then be able to move to the next one. I understand that these guys, they train over and over and over again. So a lot of that becomes like breathing, but there's still so much that goes into that. And then a gravity of like, if this bullet leaves this arsenal, it leaves this holster, like some shit could happen. I don't know what's on the other side of that. Who dies, whether they deserve to or not. You're responding to a situation. Your adrenaline is jacked. Mm-hmm. Like it's impossible to simulate what you can do. Now, when we've seen videos of like a cop, someone fucking ran 100 feet away and then they just like shoot him in the back. Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. I'm with you. That's, you can't do that. But like when someone's coming at you with a weapon or something like that and you have 0.25 seconds to respond to that, like what the fuck do you think is going to happen, people? You think they're going to stand there and be like, oh, you look safe. No, it's not how it works. And I agree. That part of it's thankless for sure.
Dude, like, have you ever heard an AR-15 indoors with no ear protection on?
No.
It's really scary, and especially if you're not expecting it. So, like, again, that's going back to the fucking school shooting problem that, we seem to have in this country. Like, it is terrifying, bro. And
it's very scary.
Like you said, you can train for it, but until you're in that situation that you've never seen, and it's God, I have all the respect in the world for those guys and what they do, and I'm so happy that there's people like Brent and people like that the apprehension team that are willing to do that, because we fucking need them, and nobody's ever going to tell me otherwise.
Yeah, we also have to ask some questions about things like that, though, that are beyond the actual response and what goes into that, which absolutely, that's a critical part. But, why these things happen. And people in the past, it's been quieter. I'll give credit where it's due. It's been quieter on this front of the blame. In the past, it's just been, well, it's guns. Okay. Yeah, I don't think a 17-year-old should be getting their hands on an AR-15. I could agree with that. But like when you're going to start to try to legislate, quote unquote, people's rights to bear arms, that runs into a lot of slippery slopes and issues. The thing that annoys me and has annoyed me for a long time about this conversation and other ones like it is when we're not looking at things that are not outliers, which are, you look at a lot of these, I don't know, little demons who have done this shit. They're on SSRIs. They didn't have any friends. There were signs, and you got to ask yourself some questions like, what are we doing chemically to some kids in this country, and how is that affecting the wiring of someone whose body is still developing? Because a lot of times these shooters are 15, 16, 17, 18 years old. And I still, after all these years, Parkland was 2018, Uvalde, I want to say, was 2021. Maybe I'm wrong, but somewhere in that area. Fucking Columbine was 25, 30 years ago. It's like, that's still not a loud conversation. And you would think, especially in the post-COVID era where people are thinking about some of this stuff more, about like, well, how much are we putting out there that's just accepted to be put in our bodies? Are you ever surprised that we don't have that a little openly now?
Dude, I think that's an exceptionally valid point. And like, I don't believe that, a firearm is a tool. It's not going to kill people on its own.
That's right.
Unless it's a SIG P320. I don't know if you've been keeping up with that drama. That was a little joke. Some people might enjoy, but
I have not kept up with that drama.
Apparently, unfortunately, I have two of them, and whatever. There is a SIG model called, you could probably look this up, Joe, but it's the P320. It's like their fucking Glock 19. It's their flagship, and there is a lot coming out now about that weapon discharging or uncommanded discharge. So there's videos of it going off in the holster for police officers and like putting one in their leg, and like essentially a lot of the times people their defense in the beginning was that, oh, your keys got stuck in the trigger well, like in your holster, and like now there's a bunch coming out about like they're not able to explain it. So it's a big thing.
A fucking open AI Glock.
Dude, it's a big thing in the firearms community.
Wow.
Yeah, so
that's scary.
It's very scary.
Yeah, SIG M18 pistol returned to service by Air Force Global Strike Command. Can we go down, Joe, on the article?
A lot of police departments are ditching
Air Force
it.
Global Strike Command has returned the M18 modular handgun system pistols back into service. The command paused use of the sidearm to inspect them starting on July 21st, following the death of an airman at F.E. Warren Air Force Base in Wyoming, which TWC was first to report. A week later, some units in Air Combat Command instituted a similar pause, though the status of that is unclear. We've reached out to ACC for comment. The M18 and the larger M17 are used by all U.S. military services, widely replacing the Beretta M9. The weapons, as well as their civilian P320 counterparts, have been fraught with controversy, with a drop-safe issue early on in its adoption, which is now fixed, and allegations and lawsuits over the gun going off without the user pulling the trigger with their finger. That is fucking terrifying.
Yeah, so
is that made in China?
No, it's made in New Hampshire, I believe.
God damn it, New Hampshire.
But the one thing I'll say about this one, about the airman being killed, I think there was some foul play that came out after the fact. So I obviously want to be specific about that one. But regardless of this one or not, there's a lot of these coming out. About the 320. So
yeah, we started this week.
Yeah,
you were talking about how guns are a tool and they don't shoot themselves, except for this one.
Yeah. But yeah, man, that's how I think of it. But at the end of the day, I think that there needs to be, I don't know what the right answer is. I know people are super staunch on like, it's in the fucking Constitution, and I agree with that. But at the end of the day, I think like, it's also different state by state. So in Jersey, you have to go through a background check. And I don't see why that's an issue elsewhere. Like, why not? What's the problem with that,
Yeah, I think people get upset when they feel like they're legislating the background checks in a sense that they can say like, oh, this is going to take a year and eventually it'll take 2 years or something like that. I get that, but I'm with you. I think like, there's a constitutional right, but there's also a line. So like, should a child predator who's out of prison be able to buy access to a gun? No, I don't think they should. Right?
I would agree.
Yeah. So there's a line somewhere, and I will admit it turns into a weird line because you start with something obvious like that, and then and it works its way all the way back to something that's like, wait a minute, what's wrong with that person owning a gun? They were speeding, they were doing 65 into 55, and they can't own a gun?
Right.
Like, it gets a little crazy, and that's where people get uptight. I understand that.
And there's truth to it too, because like that's why, organizations like the NRA and, 2A defense organizations, that's why they're so serious about not letting the other side have an inch, because and I get it, you take an inch and then you want another inch and then another inch, and then before you know it.
Yeah. Thank you guys for checking out this clip. If you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe and hit the like button on this video. It is a huge, huge help. And if you'd like to check out this clip's full podcast episode, that link is in the description below or right here. And finally, you can follow me on Instagram and X by using the links in my description below.